Hey guys, this is Rich from Over the Fender Garage. Well, we've got the suspension basically as far as we can go. I can't go any further with it until I get the transmission and the engine in their spot so I can check the relationship of the drive shaft with all the other suspension components that still got to go on here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump on getting this transmission mount done and the engine set in there the rest of the way, and then we can jump on finishing up the rear end section so I can get my housing ordered and get all the brackets and everything welded on this rear end. So we'll jump on now is getting that engine and transmission set in. All right, there is my 6-cylinder cross member moved back to the back of the V8 transmission. As you can see, it sits right now at 12.5 inches. My frame itself is way up there at 16 inches, a little bit more. And my rear cross member here sits at 14.25. So this sits way too low. I mean, if people have problems with this thing hitting the ground here, this will definitely hit the ground. Or speed bumps. So what I'm gonna do here, see, I got about an inch and a quarter probably in there. What do I got? It's an inch and a quarter. A little bit more. I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of this heavy wall, one by one I've got. I'm going to cut it. And I'm going to weld it right there on this cross member. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off just below it, right there, and then gusset on that new bar there, and that'll become my new transmission mount, and that will get me up where I'm gonna mount it. The lowest part should be 15.25 ish. So I'm gonna go cut me a piece here of that and test fit that in there. There's the piece I just cut, and if I stick it in there like that right there, right about there's level, that is perfect. And it puts me at 15.5 right there. That'd be the new bottom. So I'll weld this on completely before I cut anything. Then I'll cut this off on both sides here. And probably just take this piece right here, flip it upside down, cut it off, and stick it right back on there. Weld it to that bar. And then I'll take a piece of stuff and make a transmission mount. It sticks out because this is further behind it, because I'll be able to have the two bolts go up to where they're easily exposed to work on it. Instead of trying to drill through this and doing all that kind of stuff, I'll do a little tongue on the other side of this and mount it to that. And that makes a very strong transmission mount, and it puts strength back in the back of the frame, because if I don't put this in here and I have to remove this one here too, I'm going to have no bracing from the back all the way to the front. So I don't think that's going to be very good. So I'd rather have this in there. Gives me some strength back in the middle of the frame. Keeps them from twisting too much. So that's what I'm going to do. Finish fitting this one in here, and I'll weld that one in. Now, got my trans mount to my little bracket I'm gonna mount it to. So I can put it on there, put all that together, and then I can set my bar in here and just kind of tack weld all this together. And that'll be started there. All right, there's that. And my new plate is up here. All right. There that all is. Now, just take my bar here. Set my bar in front of that. Just like that. Hold up to it. And now I can weld this to this. And then weld this to that. And all that will be done for mock-up on it. And that'll hold the transmission. And then I'll cut these edges off and then reinforce right through here again with the piece off of this. And that'll make it strong and it'll make it high. So it's up out of the way, won't hit nothing. So, next thing I'll do here is just tack this all together. I'll check the engine from side to side, make sure it's in the right spot still. Not messing around. And measure that I want where my stick is. That's correct. Everything's good, so I'm gonna tack all this stuff into place so I can weld it all up. Okay, there it is. I'm taking all this out, weld this all together, cut this bottom off, reinforce it. Transmission cross member will be done. And there's ample room for the exhaust to go through here. No problems there. Easy to access the bolts. So that's good. Let's take this down and go finish it up. And there's the barrel welded in now. Mount's welded in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this off across here, cut it off across here, and I should be able to flip this over, get this in here, and use this as gussets across here. Now I've got that one cut off there. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, flip it upside down, weld it right in like that. I'm going to do is a little bit of fitting on it. That puts all that strength back in, and then I'll cut the front off of it. back up. It should be just as strong as what it was when it came down. So I could put a Gus 6 on this part if I wanted to, but I don't think it's going to need it. So should be good. But put this back in. And while I was at it, I went ahead and cut my frame perches off. So that's ready to go. What I got to do is stick these up and find my placement of where these are going to go and re-weld them on. Okay, there's one. It is nice. There's 2 bolt holes that line up on the frame. So, put 2 bolts in the top. And hold the other 2 with clamps. So it'll be real easy to drill the holes on top when I pull it back apart to paint it. This one here. These here. We go this way a tiny bit. All right, there it is. Transmission done. But that makes a nice, strong cross member. Clean it up a little more, make it look a little better. But that works. You see I got my exhaust headers on there. So everything's clearanced up there. Well, there's the headers on there. So there's ample room for them. Just pretty nice shorty headers. Get the engine mounted up in front. And that part will be done. I am working on doing the engine mounts right now on the frame perches here. I've got the engine held up right now with the engine hoist. I went and got the frame stands back in there. It's got the engine mounts. These are set on the 2nd notch. This has got many different places it can go. The 2nd one seemed to be the perfect one for the engine perch to sit on. Then I took the mounts here. You can see I scribed the line on there on both sides, and it's marked in there which side it is. This is the driver's side, and I'm on the passenger side. You still get the idea here. You slide this up in here and bottom it out. You see it fits in there pretty nice. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drill the holes for the engine mount bolts, and then set the engine back down and see how much I have to trim off of these, and then any bracing I'll have to do after that. So wanted to get to where this here is sitting down there enough that it'll hold it, and I can just kind of tack weld the rest of it on there, and then brace it up and weld it up, and the engine will be set in there. go back together. Got the bolt hole drilled on both sides. Ready to set this back down in there. And check and see where it all lands here. So weld those in. I've got basically 1 inch on my balancer there. So that's a good spot. So I'm gonna call it. It's in the same spot it was. Everything's good here. Everything's good over there. Got about 1 inch on the back of the engine to the firewall. So I'm gonna call that good right there. So I'm gonna tack those on. Both just tacked on right now. Now I'll go ahead and yank them both off and fully weld them. Do any bracing I need to do to them, and the engine will be set. They both are all welded up. I had to put a little extra piece in right there, but they're ready to go back in now. You remount these up. That's the left hand one. This is the right hand. And put these suckers in. Engine will be set. Hot. Still hot. All right, now we can drop that down. Oop. There we go. All right, there it is. All set in there. Looks good, looks good. Ah, no more jack stands underneath it. Nice. And I got my fingers run underneath the harmonic balancer without a problem. So all's good on how it's mounted in there. A lot of room for a steering shaft, so I can do that. That shouldn't be any interference problems with anything. Everything looks good on it. Got about 1 inch, 3/4 of an inch back there. So, engine's done, transmission's done, all in its new home. Okay, there it is, sitting up on its temporary blocks right now. They're tack welded in there pretty good, so safe to work on the truck. Basically, I cut these to about 4 inches, which I guess would be the right height. Might be 3 inches, but for right now what I'm doing, that's fine. I had to cut the pad off for the mock-up because it's in the way of the bar there. I'm going to have to cut the shock one off too, because it's in the way of the inner bar. If you look at the straight line here, that's in the way. I'm gonna have to cut the brake tab off so I can get in there for that one. Same thing over here, shock's in the way, so we'll knock those out. Just get all the stuff out of the way. I can mock up all the brackets on this housing. It is centered from the drum to the frame on both sides. It is centered straight down. So everything is basically where it's going to be when I get the new rear end put in here. So I'll be able to build all the exhaust system because I've got the room and it's fixed. So I'll be able to have all the bars and stuff out of my way for welding it. So I'll build up the exhaust system, get it all tacked together. I'll be able to mount my gas tank. Sure nothing interferes with that because I'll be able to get the track arm in there. So everything will be able to be mocked up without a problem. So I could build a new bar across here. I've got right here. That'll fit in there like that. I've got two. We'll get those put in there. I'll weld nuts on them, put a sleeve inside where the bolt passes through on both sides. So that'll all be done. I'll be strong again. So basically everything will be done back here with mock-up, and it's getting close to being done here. But for right now, I am going to finish cutting off all these brackets here. They're in my way, so I can get these brackets mounted up, little mock-up, and see where we go from there. But here we go. Everything here is mocked up now. And nothing's measured, it's just stuck in here as it would fit. I mean, it's all basically where it goes. The lower bracket here is hitting the bump stop on the old rear end. I'm not going through and cutting that off since this is just for mock-up right now. So I've got everything in spot where it's going to go. Approximately, I mean, they're probably about maybe a quarter of an inch out. I didn't measure none of this. It's just stuck up here for mock-up. And this one here is hitting the bump stop too. So I'm not going through and trying to cut all that stuff out for what I'm doing. But now I'll be able to measure. I got a lot of room. So now I got the idea of where all that sits. Track bars in there. I mean, everything is basically where it goes. It's maybe a quarter of an inch out, but it's all stuck in here now. I can check my travel on everything, make sure everything works, and I have not found a reason why this does not fit besides this bar not being there, which I will fab out of this right here. Check the clearance between here. I have 3.5 inches. So what I'll do is I'll notch this out here on both sides, give it a little extra room. If I take my yardstick here and I go across from center line, approximately center line, so above the rear end, I've got 3 inches. So when the bed's on there, there should be 4 inches. I think it's about an inch on that rail. So these should clear. If not, I can move them down because they do have adjustment holes. I can move it down to this hole and that'll bring that down so if it hits the bed. So that's the kind of stuff I want to check. I'll throw my bed on here and check this kind of stuff here. We'll do a little little notch on both those to make sure that that bar does not hit. Which I might just wait to make this thing until I get my 9-inch. Because now I can measure everything. I order the 9-inch. Get it in here. See, I got backing plate to coil over is approximately 5 3/4. And over here, 5 3/4 approximately. So, measure all this stuff up. I'll get that housing measured up and ordered. We'll get that in there. And then I'll make this piece out here. But in the meantime, I can make my exhaust system. I can get my fuel tank up. I can continue working. I'm not at a dead-end road. So one thing I did notice while I was doing this bar right here is crooked from the factory. I don't know if they're all like that. They must be. They put it in there cockeyed. But we're getting on to doing other things. I'm going to hang my fuel tank now. I got that sitting right here. So I'm going to hang that up. I've got all the exhaust pipe, so I can do that. I'll pull a string from the yoke here to the back of the transmission and see how my clearance is on the underside of that. If everything clears on that. But yeah, it worked out great. Very, very happy I did that. Very, very nice kit. Even though it's not supposed to fit this truck. But we'll get on to putting that gas tank up.